Welcome to the Rocket League Film Room. A-Dub here, back with another replay analysis, this time with Fusgui and Chape. We've got a 2v2 today. Last time they submitted, it might have been a 3v3, I think. They are second-time submitters. I believe they are shooting star in doubles. What they asked for was how they can improve their scoring chances, just getting more scoring opportunities, overall positioning. So we're going to go through the replay, point out what you did well, point out what you maybe didn't do so well, and then at the end we will talk about how you can improve on what we discussed. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the strategy for 3v3 and 2v2 is a lot different. You have to pick and choose your scoring chances a lot more carefully. So kind of not a general rule of thumb, but if you see someone on the wall going for a clear, you have to kind of expect that they're going to hit it. Now what you can do is you can creep up a little bit and see if maybe there's a chance they might miss it, but once you see that they're going to miss it, I gotta turn this UI back on. Or I'm sorry, once you see that they're going to hit it, you've got to start positioning yourself in a way that you can play their hit. So here you are full on committed for this shot. I can just tell by the way you're boosting. You're definitely going for this no matter what, even though he is sitting here kind of waiting for the ball so he can clear it. Now what you want to do is sort of like creep up, see where he's going to hit it. If he's not going to hit it, then you're here to try and dunk it in. But if he is going to hit it, you're going slow enough, ideally, to where you can sort of turn and be somewhere over here so that you can play the ball back into the middle, and then your teammate hopefully will be in a position to receive your pass. So you just got to be careful when you fully commit in doubles like this. Anytime you end up in the goal, it probably means you shouldn't have gone for it. Unless, of course, the ball ends up in the goal with you. But either way, because look how long it takes you to recover. If you're stuck this long in the goal, your teammate's usually going to end up in a bad position in a 2v1. But Chape makes a really nice play and holds up his end of the field here and gets a clear. So just keep in mind, pick and choose your opportunities. If someone has a chance to clear it, you've got to sort of be in a situation where you can play either his clear or if he misses it. You don't want to fully commit to one way or another until you know for sure what he's going to do. And that just comes down to decision making and just playing a ton of games and knowing kind of what's going to happen when your opponent's going to hit the ball. So on this next play, and this is what I preach in almost all of the replays I do for people, is rotating down the same side as the ball is almost never a good thing. Now if you're going to do it, you want to challenge it early. You want to challenge it like here. Challenge it before it gets so close to your goal, because the closer he gets when you challenge, you're going to hit it right in front of the net, and that's what happens when you rotate down the same side of the ball, and that's what happens in this replay. You go for a backflip and you center it right to the other team, and Fusgui's not able to make a play on it. But if you're going to rotate down the same side of the ball, you've got to attack that ball right away. So just turn and try to cut it off if you can before it gets closer to your goal. Now ideally, what you want to do, if you're not able to cut this ball off, let's say you were like a little bit further back, instead of chasing it back into the corner, come back through the middle, grab these boost pads on the way. The boost situation is something I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on in this video, because I saw a lot of instances where you guys were neglecting to pick up the boost pads, and that was putting you out of position a lot. But if he's ahead of you, in this case you're ahead of him, so you know maybe you can cut this ball off. But if he's ahead of you, rotating down the middle is definitely what you want to do, so that when it comes time to make it a challenge, you're not, you know, hitting it back in front of your net like this and leaving your teammate in a very difficult 1v1 scenario. He just has to kind of guess where this is getting shot, and he actually does guess correctly, but it gets dunked. So that's something that, you know, I try to tell everyone. Just get it into your brain. Obviously it's not a cookie cutter method. You know, there's going to be times where you don't really have a choice, or you have to, just based on the positioning and kind of what's going on the field. But as the general rule of thumb, you don't want to rotate down the same side as the ball. All right, so on this next play, I think you made sort of a risky boost grab. And I'm talking about Chape here. The ball is kind of bouncing towards the middle, and maybe Fusgui gets a hit on this. But I think it's a little bit too risky for you to go and grab this boost. Because if we look what happens, he doesn't get the block, and now X Cross has a free shot on net. Now, this should have ended up as a goal, but he was a little bit off. And let's see. Yeah, actually, this definitely should have been a goal, but he accidentally hit it out. So he kind of saved you there. But if you're going to steal their boost, you have to make sure, sorry, I'm spinning in circles here. You've got to make sure that you can get back on defense. And I think in this scenario, either go for this mid boost, or go for your corner boost, or probably the best option would be to just turn and come down the middle and grab these boost pads. They're all here, so if you grab like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, you can grab as many as you want. If you come down the middle of the field, you can literally get almost full boost without even having to grab one of the full boost orbs. But the point of that is anytime you leave the play to go get boost, it's going to put you obviously out of the play. If you can stay in the middle of the field with boost by picking up the boost pads, you're going to improve your scoring chances a lot. And there's another scenario I'm going to point out in this game where you missed out on a scoring chance because you left to go get boost when there were plenty of boost pads available for you to pick up. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So one of the things, like I said before, that can improve your game a lot is learning boost management, learning how, when, and where to grab all the boost pads, learning when it's a good idea to grab the boost pads versus when it's a good idea to go for full boost. Now, what you want to do most of the time is use your boost, your back boost, when you're on defense. You want to be able to grab those boosts before your opponents grab those. And you want to be able to use your opponent's boost when you're on offense. And like I've said in my past videos, when you're able to do that consistently, you have basically full boost control of the field, and your opponents will be starved of boost. Now, if you can keep from it, you don't want to use your boost for when you're moving up field. You want to use the boost pads, because the idea of that is that when you're transitioning back to defense, then you're going to be able to scoop your boost up and have full boost for defense. So what ends up happening here is you don't have any boost. You go for this one's not here, and then you're like, oh crap, now I don't have any boosts. So then you go for this corner boost. Now I've got the boost glitch, this boost is here, but really what you want to do is turn up the field and start picking up these boost pads. If you pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is plenty enough to be able to stay on attack here. And if you had done that, let's look and see what happens here. So Chape gets like a 50-50 block, and Cross here goes for a clear. If you had been anywhere in the middle of the field with, I don't know, like 60 boosts from picking up these boost pads, you would have been right here to take a shot on goal. And you probably would have made that as well, because there was kind of no contest to it. So like I've said before, using your boost when you're on defense or just playing in the midfield game, and using your opponent's boost when you're on offense, as well as the mid boost, and using sort of the boost pads when you're in transition between offense and defense, that is usually ideally what you want to do. And obviously you want to steal your opponent's boost so that they don't have any boost. But boost management is probably one of the biggest differences between high-level players and players in lower ranks, is that high-level players are able to pick up a few pads and stay on attack, whereas lower-ranked players don't feel confident enough to play without boost. Now, something that was kind of cool that I hadn't really thought of before was something Espeon pointed out. And if you follow the pro scene at all, Espeon was a player for Genesis in the last RLCS, and he streams occasionally, and I've learned a lot from his streams. They're really helpful, and I definitely suggest watching them if you ever catch him when he's online. But one of the things he pointed out to me was that mistakes when it comes to boost management are really, really hard to point out, especially during the game. But when you watch the replay, that is usually when they come out. Because in the game, you might be like, oh, I didn't have any boosts. Sorry, I couldn't be there. Or, oh, I didn't have any boosts. I couldn't make that save. It was the decision-making process when it came to how you were going about your boost management. So you chose to go for full boost rather than using the boost pads for transition to offense. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, including myself. I still find myself leaving the play for boost when I could, in fact, have just picked up boost pads. And it's really something that's hard to get used to doing because you want to have that full boost because you feel like you're confident you can get to any ball. But you only need like 50 boosts to be able to hit any ball, even as high as the ceiling. Not even that much. You can get really high with like a few boost pads. So something that I've been trying to teach people is that if you ever catch yourself saying you don't have boost, and it was the reason for you not being in the play or not being able to make the save or not being able to make a shot, save the replay and go back and find that spot where you said you didn't have boost and look and see if there was a way you could have picked up boost pads to stay on attack or make that save on defense. I think if more people start doing that, we're all going to get better at boost management, and that's sort of the key, especially when you get to the higher ranks when not having boost pretty much is going to concede a goal. So you got to be able to pick up those boost pads whenever you can. And that's something, again, that will just get better with practice. All right, so on this next play, I wanted to point out two things. Fusgui gets a 50-50 here that kind of pops straight up. You see Exodial is behind the ball or behind the play. He has no real chance to challenge this next hit. X-Cross is all the way on the opposite side of the field. So that's the one thing I wanted to point out. Your opponent is really far back. The other thing I wanted to point out is if you see your teammate is positioned, under the ball or by the ball or close to the ball, you've got to give him his space. Because even if you hit this ball, and it's a good thing you didn't because you guys probably wouldn't have scored if you had hit this ball originally. But even if you hit this ball, you're just passing over possession of it to the other team. Fusgui's not in a position to receive a pass, so you've got to kind of play it a little bit slower, Chape, to let Fusgui make a play. Now, Fusgui was also going for kind of the same hit you were, so really both of you should have been a little more cautious, waited a little bit longer. Patience is probably a better word than cautious. And just dribble this up the field and tried to have made, either a dribble move on X-Cross, or you could have, flicked it off the backboard for a pass or really anything that you could do off a dribble move. What you don't want to do is pass over possession of the ball. Now, because both of you kind of whiffed a little bit, you really confused X-Cross and you end up scoring a goal. Now, sometimes that kind of confusion works and you're able to capitalize on it, but that's not something you want to do consistently. You don't really ever want to double ball, especially in twos. That's usually going to lead to a goal almost every time. What you want to do is keep your space, let your teammate have his room to make a move, and you want to be there to capitalize on it if he does make the move. And if he doesn't, you also want to be in a position where you can get back on defense. So in this case, just take a little bit more time. If that teammate is, if your opponent is sitting back there waiting for you to hit it to him, don't just hit it to him. If they're waiting on it, they're going to be, prepared to make a save. Dribble it up the field. Make them think about it. Make them wait. Try to get them, thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to save this? Because once they start thinking like that, they're more likely to make a mistake. So that's about all I'm going to go over for this replay. The biggest things I want you to take away from this, first one being your boost management. I want you guys to really, really focus on using these boost pads to keep yourself in the play rather than driving out of the play to go get boost. There were several times where I felt like you guys lost your pressure on offense because you decided to go for the full boost. And there were times as well where you went for the full boost and almost didn't make it back on defense, or that one case where you did make it back on defense only because he didn't get a good shot. So using the boost pads to stay in the play is probably the biggest takeaway from this game. You mentioned your scoring opportunities, and that's how you're going to get more scoring opportunities is your boost management. Other thing that I say in almost every video, because there's almost always at least one case where your opponent gave you space and you decided to, or not decided to, but you just kind of rushed into the play. Giving each other your space will help not rush when your opponent is giving space. So just spread out. Make sure you don't double commit for anything. It's always easy to say, but when you're in the game, you just got to really focus on letting your teammate, make his moves. So hopefully those two things I think are the biggest takeaways, and hopefully those will help you improve your game. Again, if you ever want me to look at another replay, feel free to submit one. I enjoy doing these. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.